Let's turn these blocks into quilts. Okay, so we're studying our pattern to see what goes where. And we're looking at our blocks that we have to go ahead and organize. Somehow this one looks backwards. This one is backwards. Uh-oh. Think anybody will notice? This one's upside down. Let's see if I did that one backwards. And this star, nope, just the one is backwards. Okay, so no biggie on that, maybe. Okay, bloopers. So we're going to go ahead and put all these pieces together to create our red, white, and green quilt. Hey, and welcome back to Where Wendy Creates. Today we're taking a look at a quilt pattern for our king size quilt, and we're going to go ahead and start sewing our rows together for our quilt. And we have all of our pieces, and we're going to go ahead and mix and match and try and follow our pattern to the best that we can to go ahead and put the pieces together. So I've brought them all in here. I'm going to slightly separate them, and then we're going to start pulling from each pile and running with our project. Look at all these beautiful, beautiful blocks we have all put together. All right, and it looks like I need to press them all over again. But use steam, my friends. Use steam, 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 steam. Comes in handy. And we want a solid in our top, and then we're going to go with a red pinwheel. So we're going to go ahead and start with a pepper, and we're going to put a red pinwheel. We're going to go ahead and face to face, make sure they are in the upright direction, and we're going to make sure we sew down our seams in the correct direction as we go. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks across, and we have probably 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. So we have a lot of sewing in front of us to do. So let's go ahead and do a couple of rows together now. And I like to lock in that first stitch as I start. And I need to pull it closer to the center of my table, and looks like I need to change my thread color. So after this first block, making sure we are lined up. Let's go ahead and switch that back over to a red. Lift our foot. Find our scissors that I probably buried, and we will get going again. And we threw them off the table. Okay. So we have our solid in our first piece. And again, I should not have forgotten this. Please forgive me. Let's go ahead and change our threads now to our red, white, and green, which we are using in the quilt. And we're just getting this machine threaded one more time. Okay, and let's go ahead and start the second row following our pattern. And we're going to do a red star. And then we are going to do a green. So we have those. Let's go ahead and line them up and see if we can get our seams to fold the right directions. And believe it or not, looks like they do. All right, so let's start sewing. our second row, and that way every other one we're doing the first row, the second row, then we'll switch and do the first and the second again till we have them complete. Then we'll go on to the third and fourth rows. Our seams are laying. And that was the start of our second row. We're going to go back over to our first row. And we started out with the solid, which is our focal block. And then we have our star pinwheel, our focal with the star on the outside. And then our fourth block in is going to be the green star. So we're going to go ahead and add our green star on. And keep on going. This is such a me quilt. I love the different kind of fabrics that you can get nowadays. The beautiful foods, the beautiful coffee blocks, the beautiful everything. And when we travel, go in for the wines as much, but we love the cheeses, the breads, the different flavored foods, even the different music that you see, that you hear. Oopsie, that piece didn't belong there. And that piece didn't belong there. And were we starting the second block? Yes, we are sewing with no bobbin thread, and that's why my pieces are coming apart. So let's go ahead and get a bobbin thread in there. Looks like I'm going to wind a few bobbins. Oh, I do have a blue. Nope, blue won't work. Blue was for the baby quilt I was working on. Okay, so let's go ahead and... Okay, so we just keep on sewing our blocks together, making our seams sure we're lining up and our seams are laying the right way. Same direction. This is where a stiletto comes in real nice, so my fingers wouldn't be in your way. Backstitch at the end. All right. And now our next two blocks are going to be a solid and a red again. And so we're going to go ahead and do the mariachis. And a red brick. And we're putting the one on top that has the seams we've got to follow, because that's easier. The bottom is just straight. And I got slightly off my quarter seam, so I'm going to go back and do that little section again, because it is important at this point to make sure we're keeping that solid same seam. And although it was like 1/32, it's important to keep that same seam. So we want to continue to do that. And our blocks are looking good, I think. Again, we've got our solids going through with our other piecing and looking very well. All right. Okay, red, and now according to the pattern, I need green. So we're going to go ahead and put this on, and then we're going to turn it, match up the seams. Should stick a couple of pins in it in this step. And then we are going to make sure our seams are laying properly. They're right at the edge, going together. See how I have that? And that's how we want to line up each and every seam. So, and it looks like some of them are just a 1/16 off, which makes a bulk. So we've got to work that into the picture. And this is perfect up top, so I don't want to change that. We're going to see how the third one lines up. We give that a little stretch. The inside seam's going up, bottom one's going down, so that's perfect. And that actually lines those up a little bit better. So now we would stick some needles right in the seams here and here and here before we sew for a perfect match. And we pull out our needles before we get to each of the seams. And we readjust. Looks like I should have left that needle in a little bit longer. Bottom one going down, top going up, perfectly aligned, and that one still looks perfect. Okay. Always checking and rechecking to make sure our seams are laying properly. Okay, and we're going to follow our pattern. And once again, we had a green solid, and now we're going to do the final, the green pinwheel star, and now we're going to do the full solid square. So we have already used the peppers in this row. So let's go ahead and have one of these Mexican blocks we're going to use. Pull our threads out, trim our threads. Now we do have a trimmer on the side of the machine that I can use, but again, scissors are handy, so you do what works for you best. And we're going to flip that block over and have this, make sure we do it right sides up. We're going to turn it around, put it with our square, and now the square solid is on top because we have a lot of bulk, but we want to turn it over, make sure all of our seams are going the way that they were pressed down to go. And we're going to check each seam as we go. Again, I highly recommend needles. It does take an extra minute or two per block, but it guarantees accuracy. And we like to pin right in the seam of each solid block so that we make sure that they are continuing to lay properly. And a lot of beginner sewists actually, believe it or not, we get going and we're novices. We actually sew backs to fronts and fronts to back instead of having it always face to face. And just remember, if your fabrics are always face to face, your seams are always on the back. So that's important. Okay, my friends, and if you will pardon my mess, I'm going to show you how I'm laying it out on the couch. Another couple of rows, we're going to move it all into the king-size bed and lay it out flat. But I did want you to see I have my piles neatly stacked over here. I have my rows laying across the top of the couch. I'm liking what I have, and we're going to go ahead and do our third row.